Syracuse University has over 300 extracurricular groups, and only one has consistently survived the performing arts genre for over 40 years. This group has conquered the success of their freshman debut and managed to grow in success in numbers, talent, and unique performances throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and this millennium. Welcome to Volume 1, Episode 3. In Episode 2, we learned about the name change from Third World Dance Troupe to Creations. Join us as we talk about networking with alumni and how the increase of culture on the campus equally evolved, and how this podcast and the history of Creations came to be. Yes, but I kept my Orange Nation of people together, and I realized, wait a minute, I can't afford to lose these people. And I started doing, we're way before Facebook, we were doing the email thing. We had email groups. And that's how I kept up with Kathy. Mm-hmm. So we did all that. And then, when the 90s came, and then coming up to 2000, this LinkedIn was there. Like, oh, that's the professional thing. Mm-hmm. I created that to be professional, Mm-hmm. But when Facebook came out, someone said, I was like, well, how are the class of 2000, how are they communicating? Because I'm thinking they're doing the type of thing I'm doing. Nobody. And I was like, they had pods of people who kept in contact. And that's why I found other alumni. I went down there and found other alums. I'm like, oh, I started building the network.
There were Friends of Syracuse chapters that were happening all over the country.
Yeah.
Really right after we graduated in 1980. I think maybe the class of 78 started it.
Yes.
In New York.
Wayne Brown and them.
What was the name?
Wayne Brown.
Yeah, Wayne Brown.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they started the New York chapter, and there was a DC chapter, and then I'm sure there was one out in the West Coast and whatever. So that was another way that people stayed connected, even before the coming back together reunions.
Definitely. Yeah. When I got out in 86 and I became president in 88, and I met the founders. We dedicated, we honored our founders. And that's when I met Ed Brown, class of 69, and everybody else who came, and they would tell me their history. I was like, well, I wish I'd have known that when I was there. But I did know a little bit, because before I left, that was the first CBT. That's where I got to meet a couple other people, and that's my notebook. Because one guy said, well, I gave you my card, aren't you going to write it down? And I was like, duh, I'm going to do something better. Let me get a phone book.
Yeah.
And that phone book was
that was 83. Yeah, the first one of those. Yeah.
And we got involved with that through WAR. We was doing a whole bunch of things. And Creations, did they dance that weekend? I'm not sure. I think they did. Creations dance that time for some of them. But yeah, that's why I kept in contact with people, and still to this day trying to stay in contact with how folks are being connected. I know some folks off the grill, and thanks to Joe, I forgot Joe's last name.
Joe Cruz.
Joe Cruz, yes, thank you. He and I are partners, He has the email thing, and I send stuff to him. He passes on through that way, And I've been very fortunate, and that's why I wanted to do this. Back in 2019, I created the podcast, FSU, Our Histories Here, because, like you guys basically were making history at the time, if you think about it.
We didn't know it, did we?
No. You were having fun, right?
We were just having fun, doing something worthwhile, and having fun.
The radio program that Butch did, an extension of Tony Benia's 360 Degrees. We started 3 nights a week, oldies on Thursdays, new releases on Fridays, and party night on Saturday. I mean, that's where we hang anyway.
The only time we heard black music.
Yes!
That's right.
Because the only time we did catch it, there was a frequency, there was an AM station in Syracuse, and they would play, certain nights, or you picked up the station out of Cornell. If you can get remember back to the transistor radio, unless you tilted your antenna, you picked up that show, but there was nothing in town. So when we did that, we became so popular. I mean, we had underwriters that weren't bringing enough money to pay for our program and everything we needed, and to support WAER. The went from 3 nights a week, we went 7 nights a week. We created more programming, and that increased my creativity. I created special features for the show. Okay, we already had, I don't know if you remember, the Minority Report is to come on during the day. That's Black News.
Yeah.
We had our magazine show, Heading East, with interviews and stuff. We had Third World News. So those were the only 2 known features, right? Then I think also in Third World, we had a thing called Voices, spoken word, poetry. So when we went 7 nights a week, I created On the Street, where I got myself and other people, we went on campus and we asked the question of the day. We recorded it, came back, and I produced it On the Street. I think Mike Hilbert, may he rest in peace, came up with a sports perspective, looking at the Black and brown people in sports.
Well, you were standing on some mighty shoulders. Tony Bonilla, Butch Charles, Mike Roberts.
With the Origin, Andrew Dawson,
right?
Jackson, what's his name? He was he's the first guy I met at WR through Sherry and Gloria.
Gloria, who was that? Oh, Fred? No, Jackson. I forgot. I saw him on Facebook. I forgot his name. Last name is Jackson. But he was on overnight and do different times during the day. So I got to meet more and more, DJs. Yeah.
And Faith Barnhart. Oh man.
Oh yeah, Faith.
Someone got me involved with her, and I was writing news as a freshman. Early in the morning, writing for Minority Report. I remember her chewing the grape gum. You smell it, oh God. And she got me doing news.
But Ben, I want to get back to creations though. Like to Kathy. Kathy, where did you go for a semester abroad?
I went to England.
Okay.
And I did my student teaching there.
Okay.
Now, I was trying to remember who went with me. There was another, female who had gone, because she ended up staying, like it extended her time.
Oh, okay.
She ended up staying, and then she came back to graduate. I have a picture of her too. So maybe I'll send it to Ben. Maybe he can.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, I went to England.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And all I remember is coming back and trying to finish.
Yeah, that was it.
We did a lot. We really were self-motivated, and we did a lot. We stayed busy.
We did.
Now,
we wanted to do something. We just did it.
We stayed warm too. That was the other thing.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the hill. Those hills we used to go down like this with our fry boots. You remember those fry boots?
I could never afford fry boots, but
those were expensive.
They were really expensive and not cute.
Hey, but they kept you warm. That was the deal.
No, they were warm. They were warm, and the hill was not too high, so we would just scoot down that hill. Yeah. I don't know how I got a pair, but I did have a pair. Yeah.
Wow. Definitely.
Country up there.
Did the both of you graduate in 1980?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, were you the first class to graduate in the Carrier Dome?
We were the last class to graduate out of Manly.
Right.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was still building.
The dome wasn't ready till 81.
Right.
That would have been my year.
Yeah.
I'm going to first to see people graduate. I'm going, oh.
Yeah.
That's what it was. The last of the Manly. Wow.
Right. Remember we used to walk by while they were building the Carrier Dome? Saw that thing get built from, the bottom.
That's right.
Do you remember when they closed Archibald and people were going there taking bits and pieces? I used to have a part of the bench. I was up the dome. I ran down. And one guy had a sign and stuff. People were taking, historic pieces. I was like, whoa.
I think Colin remembers that, but I wasn't. I mean, I knew, I was a nerd. So I knew that there were athletes on campus, and I knew that there were, stadiums and gyms and stuff like that. That wasn't part of my consciousness.
Right.
So, no.
I was looking at, wow.
I started thinking about the guys.
Yeah, right.
I know, yeah, very much so. Man, oh man. Yeah, that I mean, if you've ever, did any of you attend any games at Archibald?
I didn't.
Guess what? A lot of us didn't because it was cold. There were no heated seats.
I do remember. Let's go Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did.
Definitely. So you guys graduate. You go on to your careers. What was the first career? What were you doing after you graduated? Did you go into your prospective careers? Because depending on what you were majoring in, some of you were able to make that transition. What did you do?
Well, I know I was able to get a teaching job right away. Graduated in May and was teaching upstate New York, Rome, New York.
No!
Rome, New York. So
that's near my hometown.
Like, really? Yeah, well, you were born in Utica, right?
Yeah, so you were in a small town.
My kids were born in Utica.
Wow.
Okay, that tells you something. And it was this like little hillbilly
yep.
town. Like I lived like on a farm or something, because I remember the neighbors had goats. They used to come out
there.
Now you used to hang your clothes outside. Wow.
Oh yeah.
They had goats that would chew on your clothes. But yeah, I was up there, and I was I worked at an out of district placement. It was called BOCES, Board of Education.
Yeah.
And there were students there who were older than me.
Wow.
They were my students because they kept until they were 22.
Yeah,
I was 21. It kind of blew my mind,
Like GEDs.
Yeah. So, I started out there, and then it was like, I have to get out of here. But I did have my kids up there. And then I went to teach in Long Island. But yeah, I was teaching right away. And then in 86, while I was in Long Island, I went to LIU, Long Island University, and got my master's, because you're required to have a master's.
Yeah.
Teach in New York. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
How about you, Jenice? What'd you do?
Let's see. I'm not going to bore you with all it, because I had a very circuitous career. Okay. So I majored in both economics and international relations, and my plan was to go live on the continent for like 20 years and then come back and whatever. And in the summer between junior and senior year, that was the first time I went to the continent. I went to Togo. I fell in love with the continent, or at least with Togo, and that was going to be my plan. Then I got accepted to graduate school, and instead of going to the Peace Corps, which was my heart's desire, I went to graduate school because they paid me, and you couldn't turn down free money, right? So did that, and then by the time I graduated, that was when Reagan had been elected, and the kinds of jobs that I was looking for in the international sphere were not as readily available. So I shifted to domestic work. Long story short, for 20 odd years, I worked for non-governmental organizations that were doing social change work in rural communities and urban communities, whatever. Then I taught middle school for a while, and then I became a professor at George Mason for about 15 years, and I retired in August of 2020. So it was a very,
Oh no, yeah. What I wanted to see was
whether I was still dancing. No.
You didn't even dance at home?
Oh yeah, dance at home. Yeah.
Did you return to the arts in any form?
What about you, Kathy? You go first.
Well, did I? Well, while teaching,
yes,
I always had some kind of a group going on of students, and they would perform. we had what we call Black Expressions programs.
Yes.
So, throughout my teaching experience, always involved in dance. And I even took some dance classes after. But now it's kind of hard to find, dance classes at my age. But I still try to stay active, basically. But had other students live vicariously through me, with the dance thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have any of your kids followed the arts?
I would say my daughter danced for years.
Good.
But now she's a PA, so she doesn't have a whole lot of time.
Hey, she's doing good stuff.
Yeah, she's doing really good stuff.
Good. How about you, Jenice?
So, when I was teaching at Mason, we did do several cohorts. I was teaching teachers. It was a master's degree program.
Okay.
Classroom teachers that wanted to get their master's, and so we had a couple cohorts that were arts integration emphasis. How do regular classroom teachers integrate the arts in their content to deepen the learning of kids, but also broaden their own way of expression.
Sure.
But in terms of my own connection to the art, I'm a serious yoga practitioner. I've been practicing yoga for about 20 years or so. So that's my physical expression.
Okay. That's great.
And then the visual arts, and I also grew up around my dad and my brother are professional musicians, and so yeah, arts are very much a part of my life.
Yes. And
always have been, always will be. And both of my daughters danced a bit, one more than the other, but neither of them do it either, right? I mean, they're trying to start their careers, and careers are not as dancers, so that. But I mean, I think your question really, though, Ben, is around the value of the arts. And I think when I hear from people who were in creations at Syracuse, they talk about how meaningful that was to them, even if most of them were not dance majors or intending to become professional dancers, that it was and that's what the arts do, right? They connect it to the culture, to your humanity, to your ability to express yourself. And that's what got, I think, a lot of people through, that cold environment, that white environment.
Yeah.
We're telling.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. As I've watched, the growth of, alumni and students who come through university, and me checking in on student organizations, I was very impressed to see that if you look at some of the dance groups, there's a good mixture of Latino, Caribbean. And I'm thinking, who gave birth to that? I think you guys planted a major seed, and per decade, the roots just grew. Because I'm sure they had to look back and go, what's there before us? I mean, if you're smart, you always look to see them. Like you guys, Kathy, when you came, remember, I don't see any group here. So you said, let's begin. So if you go to the Syracuse University site and see dance groups, you will see and go, wow. And I have to give you guys props. Thank you for that. Someone may not give you that credit, but from what I've seen, if you see the trail and the timeline, you'll see Third World Dance Troupe, creations, the Latin group, the Caribbean group, the African. Like there's an African dance troupe who specifically just do African dance. I'm going, that's what I'm talking about. We've come full circle. And I want to say now, I'm giving you that credit. You were having fun, and like you said, you didn't know you were making history, and that's the purpose. Folks need to know, And I give you props, and I thank you for opening up my eyes, my mind, and my creativity. Because I wouldn't be able to be doing this. This is my dance forte. and I look for I was telling Kat, I did a radio show online because I've always wanted to go back to radio. Just chatting with folks, the more talking to people, I grow learning from them. And that's what I teach. As a teacher, I teach my students. Know your history. Once you find out about who you are and where you're from, you respect a lot of things in this world. You know.
Well, it'll be really fun to have the big reunion.
Oh man!
It will. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't even phantom half the stories that are gonna come out of that. You know, and we're all gonna sit there and tell us what happened. You did.
I wonder what I wonder what their thoughts are. You know, what they were thinking back then.
Right. Yeah. I'd love to hear.
Yes, and then my thing too, I want to find out how many of them actually went back and tried to figure out the history.
Yeah, I mean, here we're all young people.
Right, that's true.
Young people can be a little self-absorbed. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't look back into history, you know. But thank God for you, you know, to capture it and to share it, you know. So.
Oh, definitely. You know, this has been awesome. And once again, this is still just the beginning. There are more stories to be told, more history to be heard and to be learned. Okay? I know folks will be entertained, educated. If you put it together, they'll be edutained. That's what I'm looking for. So when they learn, they walk away, they can share it. Each one, teach one. You've done it when you began the truth. How do we know? Look back and see who was there. So we're looking forward to the future. My name is Benji, Mr.RNB, thanking my guests. Jenice View, Kathy Jordon, the founders of the Third World Dance Troupe, now Creations. We're looking forward to the future. Can't wait for the next reunion. Peace and blessings. You've just heard the original herstory of the Third World Dance Troupe and the beginning of Creations with the founders, Kathy Jordon and Jenice View. This podcast, FSU, Our History is Here, Herstory, the history of creations, will continue with more of the herstory. Continue to join us Memorial Day weekend for the debut of Episode 4, when some of the original members, Gloria McEverly Moore and Sherry Saunders, sit down and share their herstory of dancing with Third World Dance Troupe and Creations. This episode of FSU, Our History is Here, featured the following music. Too Shy from Groovin' with C-Jack, now available on C-Jack Run Records worldwide, on music platforms via hyperfollow.com/C-Jack Run Presents, and Sense of Purpose by Holizna. The FSU Our History is Here podcast is a creation of Another Ben G Production 2022.